पाश्चात्यदेशतः नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरत्से नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्ते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we'll continue with third canto, third chapter. Some devotees can share the screen because I'm not able to log in from the laptop. Any devotees on with the laptop? So we're beginning with the third canto. Oh, sorry, third canto, third chapter. So second chapter spoke about the Lord pastimes in inside Vrindavan. The third chapter is going to speak about the Lord pastimes outside Vrindavan. Who all are there? Okay. Anush Prabhu, who is having laptop with them? Can they share the screen?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I need 5-10 minutes. I had some program at home. मुझे 5-10 मिनट लगेगा लैपटॉप तक एक्सेस करने में. मेरे पे घर में कुछ प्रोग्राम था.
ओके, सबका प्रोग्राम है, मेरा भी प्रोग्राम है, इसलिए मैं भी.
Yes, sorry, Prabhuji, can I open in mobile the Veda base so that I can we can share the screen, Prabhuji? Will that be fine, Prabhuji?
Yes, fine.
Yeah, so give me 2 minutes, I'll open, Prabhuji.
Uddhava vacha tata sa agatya puram swapitros chikirishaya sambaladeva samyuta tad ripuyuttanatam hatam vikarshad vesumojasoridam. So Uddhava is telling to Vidura. Shri Uddhava said, thereafter Lord Krishna went to Mathura city with Shri Baldev, and to please their parents, they dragged Kamsa, the leader of the public enemies, down from his throne and killed him, pulling him along the ground with great strength. So, I think the last pastime which we discussed in the second chapter was Krishna subduing Indra. And then Krishna performed Ras Leela with the gopis. So now the third chapter is starting with Krishna entering the city of Mathura, and Krishna and Balram together are trying to kill Kamsa. Kamsa was a very ferocious person. Down, purport. Yes. Devotees can start reading. Yes.
Thereafter, through the translation, right?
Yes.
Shri Uddhava said, thereafter, Lord Krishna went to Mathura city with Shri Baladev, and to please their parents, they dragged Kamsa, the leader of public enemies, down from his throne and killed him, pulling him along the ground with great strength.
Yes, you can come to that when the two brothers attack comes on the throne down. From there you can read. Yeah, here when the two brothers attack comes on the throne.
When the two brothers attacked Kamsa on the throne, their parents feared that now Kamsa would finally get the opportunity to kill their sons, whom they had hidden for so long in the house of Nanda Maharaj. The parents of the Lord, due to parental affection, felt extreme danger and they almost fainted. Just to convince them that they had actually killed Kamsa, Krishna and Balaram pulled Kamsa's dead body along the ground to encourage them.
Yeah. So this is elaborately discussed in 10th canto, 40 or 41st chapter. So there Krishna and Balram are brought along with all the covered men, especially Nanda Maharaj. They come, they bring in the bullock carts, they bring ghee, they bring butter, and they bring many grains to offer as tax to Kamsa for Dhanuragya. So Krishna first enters the city of Mathura, and then he asks that Dhobi, the washerman. Basically, he was a person, he was taking some Kamsa's clothes to dye with some colors. And when Krishna asked him, "Can I have this?" They were not used clothes, they were new clothes, but that the person was about to dye those clothes. He replies, "This is meant for Kamsa, not for you." So Krishna immediately uses his hand and cuts it. So then later on, he comes across the florist Sudama, and Sudama, the florist, he offers flowers to Krishna. And then after some time, he comes across Kubja. So Chakravartipad mentions Kubja is the expansion of Satyabhama, that is Bhudevi, and she was having a hunched back. What it indicates is the earth being overburdened by demonic kings was completely disfigured, and it was time for Kamsa to be killed. And therefore, when Krishna comes and he just sees Kubja and he asks Kubja, "What is this?" Scented oil. It's a fragrance. It's a chandan. So the essence of the earth is fragrance. So essence of Kubja, whose expansion of Satyabhama or Bhumata, she is offering her essence in the form of sandalwood paste to Krishna, the actual king, actual Isha. So Krishna being pleased by her, he just keeps his leg on her leg, and he takes his finger, and just touches her chin. Just by the touch of Krishna, whatever deformities Kubja had in her body, everything was overcome. And this was a nimitta or indication that very soon earth will be free from the burden of all the demonic kings. This is what Chakravartipad writes in his commentary for the 10th canto, Krishna entering Mathura. Now, after that, he goes and he is about to enter a place. There, a big, huge elephant, Kualapedia, is standing. Krishna and Balram together, they wrestle with the elephant. Both of them break the tusk of that elephant with the blood on their shoulders. They carry that elephant and enter in the in the sacrifice of Dhanu Yajna, bow sacrifice. And there Kamsa and all the kings are seeing Krishna and Balram carrying the tusk of elephant with blood coming on their shoulders. And all the covered men are seeing Krishna and Balram as their children. All the Mathura women are seeing them as Cupid personified. Some of the Gyanis are seeing them as Brahman. Yogis are seeing them as Paramatma. Devotees are seeing them as Bhagavan. So different personalities are seeing them with different intentions. So then after that, Chanur and Mushtik come to wrestle with Krishna Balram. And when they wrestle with Krishna Balram, all the citizens, Mathura Vasis, they are telling what kind of injustice is this? These are some 10 years, 7 months. Krishna's 10 years, 7 months. And it was in Chaitra Mas, Trayodashi. On that day, Krishna killed Kamsa. So when he defeated all the wrestlers, after defeating all the wrestlers, one by one, all the wrestlers were killed. Then Kamsa was sitting on the throne of the king. So immediately Krishna jumped from the below stage onto the throne of the king. And immediately he caught his throat and just punched him. And Kamsa was killed. And just to show to all the citizens and his parents, don't be fearful. Krishna dragged Kamsa's body because just to show Kamsa is dead. Don't be fearful that Kamsa will come back and kill me again. No, Kamsa is dead. So that is what he wanted to indicate. So this is what Prabhupada is writing. This is the essence of that shloka where Prabhupada is trying to write in this purport that parents of the Lord, due to parental affection, felt extreme danger. They almost fainted. Just to convince them that actually killed Kamsa, Krishna and Baldev pulled Kamsa's dead body along the ground to encourage them. Yeah, next shloka. Sandipane sakrat proktam brahmaditya sa vistaram tasmai pradadavaram putram mritam pancha janodhara. Yes.
Translation. The Lord learned all the Vedas with their different branches simply by hearing them once from his teacher Sandipani Muni, whom he rewarded by bringing back his dead son from the region of Yamalok. Purport.
Yeah. So here in this purport, Prabhupada writes about Krishna and Balram after coming to Mathura, after reviving the 6 sons of Devaki, they are going to Sandipani Muni's ashram in Ujjain. And till now, if you visit Ujjain temple and you happen to go to Sandipani Muni's ashram, there this exhibit is there. Krishna learning Vedas with his Vedangas from Sandipani Muni. It is mentioned there. And bringing the dead son from the region of Yamlok, it is mentioned there. All these pastimes in the form of diorama, in the form of exhibits, is placed there in Sandipani Muni's ashram in Ujjain. So, Mataji can read this thing. The Lord is constitutionally well versed in all the Vedas.
The Lord is constitutionally well versed in all the Vedas and yet to teach by example that everyone must go to learn the Vedas from the authorized teacher and must satisfy the teacher by service and reward. He himself adopted this system. The Lord offered his services to his teacher Sandipani Muni, and the Muni, knowing the power of the Lord, asked something which was impossible to be done by anyone else. The teacher asked that his beloved son who had died be brought back to him, and the Lord fulfilled the request. The Lord is not therefore an ingrate to anyone who render him some sort of service. The devotees of the Lord who always engage in his loving service are never to be disappointed in the progressive march of devotional service.
So Prabhupada is trying to bring from this purport that two things. Sandipani Muni's sons were revived from Yamaloka. And second thing, Krishna is trying to learn from a guru. So Krishna has taken service from Sandipani Muni, being blessed with the knowledge of the Veda and Vedangas. In return, he is offering the Guru Dakshina. A normal person can offer a Guru Dakshina of some gold coins, may give some cow, may give some land. But Krishna is offering his own son who had been died immaturely as an Guru Dakshina to his Guru. So devotees of the Lord who always engage in loving service are never to be disappointed in the progressive march of devotional service, because Krishna offers his devotees much more than what they can expect. Next shloka. Samahuta Bhishma Kanyayaye Shriya Savarnena Bhubhushayesham Gandharva Vritya Vishatam Subhagam Jagre Padam Murdni Dadat Suparna. So the next shloka speaks about Rukmini Haran. Yes, next devotee can read. Hope Anushru is settled now. If he's not yet settled, I'll just tell devotees to read. Yes, Madan Mohan, can read.
Hare Krishna, please. Attracted by the beauty and fortune of Rukmini, the daughter of King Vishmaka. Many great princes and king assembled to marry her. But Lord Krishna, stepping over the other hopeful candidates, carried her away as his own share, as Garuda carried away nectar.
Yes. I think this came in previous third canto, first chapter or second chapter also it came. Garuda carrying nectar. I think Mother Sri might have told this story to you. The stories of Garuda carrying nectar from the heaven is compared as an analogy because Garuda was born to Vinita. Actually, what happened was her co-wife, she gave birth to all the snakes. And even snakes, they are hatched from eggs. And even eagle is also hatched from eggs. So her co-wife, she had got many eggs. And eventually within 10 months time, she gave birth to many snakes, which flooded the whole universe. But Vinita, she gave birth to 2 huge eggs. And she was waiting for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. She lost her patience. So after some time, out of the 1 egg was there, she tried to touch it. And from them came a personality called as Aruda. And because he was prematurely disturbed, because he was taking a lot of celestial years to be hatched, he immediately fled away from her and cursed and told, I'm not going to stay with you. And he went and became, because his lower portion was ineffective. Only wing portion was active, but the leg was not active. So he happens to become the charioteer of Suryadev. But while going, he says, the way you have touched me immaturely, don't try to touch with the other egg. And he will deliver you from this predicament of curse. And what is the curse? That you will become slave of your co-wife. And for the next egg to be hatched, Garuda was inside the next egg. She became slave of her co-wife with all her children for 100 celestial years. And one fine day, after some time of 100 celestial years, the second egg was hatched, and a powerful personality, a beak like an eagle, feather or wings as like an eagle, leg like an eagle, but stature like a personality of like celestial personality, very huge. He erupts from there. And meanwhile, Indra, because of some reason, he disturbs some of the Brahmanas who are size of thumb, Velakalas, and they curse Indra that son of Kashyapa and Vinita will come and defeat you and will steal your nectar from Swargalok. And meanwhile, because her mother Vinita is become a slave of a co-wife, Garuda goes and bargains with his co-wife, co-mother. And then all the snakes come to Garuda and they tell, your mother can escape slavery at my mother if you go to heaven and try to bring the celestial nectar. The snakes wanted to become immortal, Amar, materially. So then Garuda takes that task. First he goes and takes the blessing of his father Kashyapa. Then he goes flying towards the heaven. And there are many barriers, many obstacles. As soon as he enters, there is a lot of security system. Garuda crosses that. There are many soldiers. Garuda defeats all of them. And at last, there is a circular axe. 3 axes were there, which are rotating in circular fashion continuously. So Garuda was thinking, if I go inside, my wings will be cut if I'm inattentive. And not only that, once you go inside one circular axe, there is another circular axe, and in between that there are two huge poisonous celestial snakes. So what Garuda does is, because already Indra is cursed, he just takes his wings, flaps it. By that flapping, those snakes, they fly away inside that circular axe, and their whole body is cut. And then Garuda jumps inside, manages, because snakes are disappeared now. He does a lot of acrobats, and then goes there, snatches the nectar, and from there, after breaking the whole security system of the Svarga Loka, he brings the nectar back to the place where mother was there, and he comes and hands that nectar to the other co-brothers, and his mother is relieved of the slavery. Meanwhile, Indra is defeated. That curse is complete. And then Indra allows him to take the nectar at the cost that, okay, you take nectar, go and bring out your mother out of slavery, but don't hand over the nectar to the snakes. Once that slavery is done, bond is broken, immediately I'll appear there and take the nectar from your hands. So Indra comes there. As soon as Garuda hands the nectar to the snakes, Indra appears there, and from the hands of the snakes, he snatches the nectar and goes back to Svargalok. So therefore, this comparison is given here. Why? Because it was almost impossible for Garuda, who was a mortal being, to go to Svargaloka, break the security system, and snatch that nectar from Indra. But because of the blessings of the Brahmanas and his father, and to relieve his mother out of slavery of a co-wife, he could do that. And later on, he is blessed by all the Brahmanas and even Indra. He becomes the carrier of Lord Vishnu eternally. So therefore, here Krishna is trying to kidnap Rukmini on the request of her. And all the other kings, Kshatriya kings, they wanted her hand. And everybody was thinking that Rukmini is going to run away with me. Shishupal also was one of such king. But some or the other, like all the snakes wanted nectar, but only Garuda could snatch the nectar from Indraloka. Krishna is compared to that Garuda, and all the snakes are compared to the so-called lusty Kshatriya kings. And the nectar is compared to Rukmini. Krishna kidnapped Rukmini from her palace, which is compared to almost an opulence equal to heavenly planet, and brought her to Dwaraka. Yes. Yes, you can read this. Princess Rukmini. Madan Mohan Prabhu. You need to unmute yourself.
I'm unmuted. Princess Rukmini, the daughter of King Bhishmaka, was actually as attractive as fortune itself, because he was as valuable as gold, both in color and in value.
Yes,
Since
you can
the
come to the last part.
Okay, which part?
Yes, last Rukmini invited Krishna to take her away from the clutches of Shishupal.
Okay. Rukmini invited Krishna to take her away from the clutches of Shishupala. So when the bridegroom Shishupala came there with his party with the desire to marry Rukmini, Krishna all of a sudden swept her from the sea, stepping over the heads of all princes there, just as Garuda carried over nectar from the hands of the demons. This incident will be clearly explained in the 10th canto.
Yeah. So all these pastimes are from 10th canto. Kakudmino avidnasho damitva swayamvare nagna jitim uvaha tat bhagnamanam apigradyatotnyan jagne akshata shastra vratasva shastrai. Yes.
By subduing 7 bulls whose noses were not pierced, the Lord achieved the hand of Princess Nagni Jiti in the open competition to select her bridegroom. Although the Lord was victorious, his competitors asked the hand of the princess, and thus there was a fight. Well equipped with weapons, the Lord killed or wounded all of them, but he himself was not hurt.
Yes, this princess Nagna Jiti was from Madras province. Priyam Prabhur Gramya Iva Priya Vidutsur Archat Tutarum Yadarte Vajra Adravatam Saganorushana Prida Mrugo Nunam Ayam Vadunam. This is about Krishna going to heavenly planet and snatching the Parijat tree from there. So the word comes Krida Mrugo Nunam Ayam Vadunam. Vadunam is wife. Krida Mrugo is play toy in the hands of a woman. So actually Indra was like a play toy in the hands of a beautiful Sachi. But when Krishna went to give a earrings to Aditi, there she too had taken Satyabhama with her. And then Satyabhama told, I want this Parijat flower. The flowers are very beautiful. But Indra was attached to his wife. He was a handpicked husband of Sachi. So he was thinking that Krishna, it's like, projection. A person is in having a particular character and is projecting the same attitude on somebody else. So Indra thought that because Krishna is a handpicked husband of Satyabhama, Satyabhama wants Parijata, therefore Krishna is breaking the heavenly rules of carrying a celestial tree down to the earthly planet. Therefore, he being handpicked husband wanted to foolishly fight with Krishna. Yes. So just to please his dear wife, the Lord brought back the Parijata tree. Yeah, next duty can read. Translation.
Just to please his dear wife, the Lord brought back a Parijat tree from heaven, just as an ordinary husband would do. But Indra, the king of heaven, induced by his wife, and pecked as he was, ran after the Lord with full force to fight him.
Yes, we can come here to the third, fourth line. Indra's wives inspired him to run after the Lord to fight.
Indra's wife inspired him to run after the Lord to fight. And Indra, because he was handpicked husband and also a fool, listened to them and dared to fight with Krishna. He was a fool on this occasion because he forgot that everything belongs to the Lord.
Continue. You can continue, Guru. There was no fault.
There was no fault on the part of the Lord, even though he took away the tree from the heavenly kingdom. But because Indra was handpicked, dominated by his beautiful wife like Sachi, he became a fool. Just as all persons who are dominated by their wives are generally foolish, Indra thought that Krishna was a handpicked husband who only by the will of his wife Satyabhama took away the property of heaven. And therefore he thought that Krishna could be punished. He forgot that the Lord is the proprietor of everything and cannot be handpicked. The Lord is fully independent, and by his will only he can have hundreds and thousands of wives like Satyabhama. He was not therefore attached to Satyabhama because because she was beautiful wife, but he was pleased with her devotional service and thus wanted to reciprocate the unalloyed devotion of his devotee.
So Krishna was not attached to Satyabhama like a normal mortal husband, but he wanted to give Parijata tree to Satyabhama because of her devotional service. Sutam hridekam vapusa grishantam drishtva sunabon matitam dharitrya amantritastattanaya shesham datva tadantam avivesha. Yes, next duty can read. This is about Narkasura. Okay, I'll just call out devotees, then accordingly you can read. Sachin Prabhu, we can read.
Yes. Narkasura, the son of Datri, the earth, tried to grasp the whole sky, and for this he was killed by the Lord in a fight. His mother then prayed to the Lord. This led to the return of the kingdom to the son of Narkasura, and thus the Lord entered the house of the demon.
So who is Narkasura? When Hiranyaksha had plundered the earth, all the gold from the earth, so earth lost the gravity and it fell in the Garbhodaka ocean. That moment, Varahadev appeared and he lifted the earth from that Garbhodaka ocean, placed it back in orbit. At that time, the earth became the wife of Varahadev. Until now, if you see carefully, Varahadev consort is Bhudevi only. And Varahadev and Bhudevi's son was Naraka. So although he was born of the Lord himself, what happened to him? Why he became such a great demon? He became such a great demon because of the association of Banasur. Chakravarti Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also writes this in his commentary that Banasura, Narkasura, was the son of Lord himself and expansion of Mother Earth. But still, he became demonic because of, even Prabhupada is quoting the same thing in the first two lines. You can read the purport, Prabhuji. The same thing Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes here. Sachin Bro, can you read the purport?
Yes. It is said in other Puranas that Narkasura was the son of Dharti, the earth, by the Lord himself, but he became a demon due to the bad association of Bana, another demon. An atheist is called a demon, and it is a fact that even a person born of good parents can turn into a demon by bad association. Birth is not always the creation of goodness. Unless and until one is trained in the culture of good association, one cannot become good.
Yes. So, Banasura, because of Banasura association, Narkasura became a demon. And like Dvi the gorilla, he was associate of Lord Ramchandra. But because of same Banasura, Narkasura, because of Narkasura, Dvi the gorilla, he became a demonic. So this is the power of association. Although they were directly the son, associates of Lord, but still, because association, karanam gunasangasya sad asad yoni janmasu. So living entity has a free choice. Either he can associate with sattva guna, rajoguna, tamoguna, and based on what he can associate, based on the people. Jaisa sang, Vaisarang. So Prabhupada writes here, birth is not always a criterion of goodness. Unless and until one is trained in the culture of good association, one cannot become good. So training and education is very, very important after this samskara. Therefore, after 5 years, the children are sent to Gurukul. Or at least if they are at home, they are trained by their mother and father in such a way that they take up Krishna consciousness in the good association. Yes, next shloka. Tatraratasta naradeva kanya Pujena drishtva harimarta bandhum Uttaya sadyo jagruhu praharsha Vridanuraga prahitavalokai. So, after killing Narkasur, there so many queens were there. 16,000 queens were kidnapped by Narkasura, and they were kept palace prisoned by Narkasura. And now that was Dwapar Yuga. None of the Devakanya, Naradeva Kanya, Tatra Ratasta, who all the Kanya are queens of many kings. Naradeva Kanya, they are all princess. Naradeva is king, Kshatriya's daughters. Pujena Drushva Harimartha Bandhum. But when they saw Lord Krishna, Artha Bandhum, friend of the distressed, at once they got up and approached him because they knew nobody can marry us. So Krishna only can deliver us now because we have been taken away from the protection of our parents. We have to be placed in the protection of the husband, but we are not yet married. So who will marry us? Yes. Next devotee. Who is there? Parmeshwar Mataji can read last part of the purport according to Vedic society.
Purport. According to Vedic society, girls are transferred from the custody of the father to the custody of husband. Since this princess had already been taken away from the custody of their fathers. It would have been difficult for them to have any husband other than the Lord himself.
So therefore, before that Prabhupada writes, unless the Lord accepted them, there would be no chance of their being married, because the demon kidnapped them from their father's custody, and therefore no one would agree to marry them. So therefore it is, the word comes, the verse, Uttaya Sadhyo Jagru Praharsha Vridanuraga Prativaha Lokai, by eager glances, Anuraga Prahita Avalokai. Shyness, Vrida means shyness, joyful, shy, attachment, and eager glances, that yes, Lord will accept us as his wives. Asam muhurta ekashmin nanagareshu yoshitam savidam jagripanin anurupa swamayaya. So now, after delivering this princess from the house prison or house arrest of Narkasura, Krishna expanded himself, Swayam Prakasha, and he expanded because all the 16,000 princes were of different height, different weight, different stature, different bodily measurements. So Krishna accordingly expanded himself to marry them, and he created 16,000 palaces. And therefore Prabhupada writes here, Swamaya, or Sukadeva Goswami is telling, or Uddhava is telling to Vidura, Anurupa Swamaya. That means exactly to match the particular princess, he expanded himself 16,000 times by his internal potency to accept their hand, Jagre Panin. That means basically got married with them. Yes, next devotee can read. Yashika Mataji can read.
Prabhuji, I have a question.
Hmm.
So is it that the Lord's form, like, he's just like Lord Krishna is just one? Or like for 16,000, he appeared also slightly differently? Like this is,
Yep.
generally think that the Lord will be just like, he'll be looking like, the Krishna from Dwarka, like only one. But was he in different forms? Like how can we understand this?
In the form of facial expansion, the Lord's face cut will be same, but his size, height,
okay.
width, based on the different princes, he adjusted it. So that particular thing Prabhupada mentioned in the purport. Generally, when Lord expands, it is mentioned in the purport in the last 4 lines. Lord expanded Swayam Prakasha. Swayam Prakasha means, like in Ras Leela, when he expanded, he did not change. It was Swayam Prakasha. But when he married the Dwarka queens, he matched along with their height, weight, everything. That is called as Vaibhava Prakasha, Vaibhava Vilasha. Swayam Prakasha means exactly Lord expands. Like Brahma Lila, when Krishna expanded, he became each and every different covered boy. But after when he came to merge into Krishna, he became Vishnu and then merged. So Lord having the same form is called as Swayam Prakasha. But when the Lord takes different forms, it's called as Vaibhava Prakasha or Vaibhava Vilasha. So accepted the Vaibhava Vilasha form here for the pleasure of all the princes of Dwarka.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Translation: all those princesses were lodged in different apartments, and the Lord simultaneously assumed different bodily expansions, exactly matching each and every princess. He accepted their hands in perfect rituals by his internal potency. Purport by Srila Prabhupada.
You can come to the last, that by his internal potency. Last 4 lines. After that, Govinda Bhadi Purusham Tamam Bhajami.
By his internal potency, the Lord can expand himself into various personalities of Swayam Prakasha and again into Prabhav and Vaibhav forms, and all of them are non-different from one another. The forms into which The Lord expanded to marry the princesses in different apartments, were all slightly different just to match each and every one of them. They are called Vaibhav Vilasa forms of the Lord and are affected by his internal potency, Yog Maya.
Yes. Next shloka. Tashva apatyani ajanayat atmatulyaनि sarvatah ekaikashyam dasa prakrite bushaya. Yes,
Yes.
Ramakrishna, you can read.
Yes, Prabhu. Just to expand himself according to his transcendental features, the Lord begot in each and every one of them 10 offspring with exactly his own qualities.
Yes, 10 offsprings. So I'll try to see. We have completed how many verses? Okay, one more verse we'll take and try to see what Chakravarti Pal has to speak on this first 10 verses. Kala Bhagada Salvadin Anikairundata Puram Ajiganat Swayam Divyam Swakumsham Teja Adisat. Yes, Shobha Lakshmi, you can read.
Kalayavan, the king of Magad, and Salva attacked the city of Mathura. But when the city was encircled by their soldiers, the Lord refrained from killing them personally, just to show the power of his own name. Purpose.
Yes.
After the death of Kansa, when Mathura was encircled by the soldiers of Kalayavan, Jarasandha, and Salva, the Lord seemingly fled from the city, and thus he is known as Ranchor, or one who fled from fighting. Actually, the fact was that the Lord wanted to kill them through the agency of his own men, devotees like Mutukunda and Bhima. Kalayavan and the king of Magadha were killed by Mutukunda and Bhima respectively, who acted as agents of the Lord. By such acts, the Lord wanted to exhibit the prowess of his devotees, as if he were personally unable to fight, but his devotees could kill them. The relationship of the Lord with his devotees is a very happy one. Actually, the Lord descended at the request of Brahma in order to kill all the undesirables of the world. But to divide the share of glory, he sometimes engaged his devotees to take the credit. The battle of Kurukshetra was designed by the Lord himself, but just to give credit to his own devotee Arjuna, Nimitta Matram Bhavatavya, he played the part of the charioteer, while Arjuna was given the chance to play the fighter, and thus became hero of the battle of Kurukshetra. What he wants to do himself by his transcendental plan, he executes through his confidential devotee. That is the way of the Lord's mercy towards his pure unalloyed devotee.
Yes, this shloka speaks about Lord would have personally killed all these demons, but to engage them in his service, Lord engages Muchukunda in killing Kalevana, and same Muchukunda comes as Pundalik in Pandarpur, and the same Lord blesses him as Panduranga Vittala, and then Lord engages Bhima in killing Jarasandha. Therefore, he seems like he's running away, but he had to flee from that place because he wanted to go and kidnap Rukmini. Therefore, he had to run away from the place. So basically, Lord doesn't worry about what his name, fame, prestige, but Lord wants to just please his devotees. Even while, and he had taken a vow that he will not lift any weapon, but for the pleasure of protecting his devotee Arjuna, and for the pleasure of breaking his own promise, he didn't wanted Bhishma's promise to be broken. At the same time, he didn't wanted Arjuna to be killed. Therefore, he was ready to break his own promise. So what is the theme, underlying theme is, that is the way of Lord's mercy towards his pure unalloyed devotees. He just wants to execute through his confidential devotees. He wants to give the glory to his devotees. That is his 10th verse speaks about. Next verse. So Lord killed Kalevana and many demons, but there are some other demons whom Lord killed. Who are the demons? That is mentioned in the 11th shloka. Shambaram Dvidambanam Muram Balvalam Evacha Anyamsha Dantavakradin Avadit Kamsacha Gatayat. Who is next? Sachi Sundari Mataji, you can read.
Kings like Dambara, Dvivida, Bana, Balvala, any other demons such as Dantavakra, some he killed himself and some he caused to be killed by others, Sri Baladev, etc.
Yes. So out of this first, Sambara, if you see the shloka starts Sambaram. Sambara was killed by his son Pradyumna in Dwarka. Dvivida and Balvala. Yes, Dvivida and Balvala was killed by Baldev. So Sambara, first demon was killed by Pradyumna. Dvividam was killed by Baldev. Banam, Muram, two demons were killed by Krishna himself. Balvalam was killed by Baldev again. And Evacha, Anyamsha Dantavakra. Dantavakra was also killed by Krishna himself. So here the shloka ends with Anyamsha. What is that Anyamsha? So Sambaram, Dvidam, and Balvalam were killed by Pradyumna, Baldev. Banam, Muram, Dantavakra were killed by Krishna. And Anyamsha, what is that Anyamsha? That is mentioned in the next shloka, 12th shloka. Who are the other kings whom Krishna killed? Atate Bratara Putranam Pakshayo Patitan Nripan Chachala Bhu Kurukshetram Esham Apatatam Balai. Yes, Apurva Radhika Mataji can read.
Then, O Vidura, the Lord caused all the kings, both the enemies and those on the side of your fighting nephews, to be killed in the battle of Kurukshetra. All those kings were so great and strong that the earth seemed to shake as they traversed the war field.
Therefore, who are the other kings is mentioned here? They were nothing but some of the kings on the side of Pandavas and some of the kings on the side of Kauravas. All of them were killed. Krishna did not kill them, Balaram did not kill them, but they were killed through the medium of Arjuna and Bhima. And because they were like burden on the earth, they were killed. So next shloka speaks about in that battle, Pandavas were victorious, but Kaurava party like Dushashana, Duryodhana, Dushashana was killed. All the 99 Kauravas were killed, and Duryodhana was lying, broken his leg broken on the ground. So that scene where Krishna, at the end of battle of Kurukshetra, Duryodhana is lying on the ground with his knees and thighs broken. This 13th verse speaks about that scene. Shakarna Dushashana Sobalanam Kumantrapakena Hatashri Ayusham Suyodanam Sa Anucharam Shayanam Bhagnórumam Uryam Nananda Pashyan. So Bhagnorum Urvayam Nananda Pashyan. So when Krishna saw Suyodana Sa Anuchara Shayanam, Suyodana was Duryodhana. His name was actually Suyodhana, not Duryodhana. Because of his acts, his name became to be called as Duryodhana. And why his name became Duryodhana? Because Sakarna Dushashana Shobalanam. Because of the ill advice of Karna, Dushashana, Shobalanam, Kumantra Pakena Hatashriya Ayusham. Because of insulting Draupadi and others, their Ayusha became, their opulence, their wealth, everything got decreased. But Krishna was not pleased to see Duryodhana's condition with his broken thighs, legs, with all his associates killed, just because of the ill advice of Shakuni, Karna, Dushashana. So that is what this shloka speaks about. Yes, next you can read. Shiromani Radhika Mataji, you can read this one.
Duryodhana was bereft of his fortune and duration of his life because of the intricacy of ill advice given by Karna and Saubala. He lay on the ground with his followers, his thighs broken, although he was powerful. The Lord was not happy to see the scene.
You can read the purport, Mataji, whole purport.
Yeah. The fall of Duryodhana, the leading son of Dhritarashtra, was not pleasing to the Lord, although he was on the side of Arjuna, and it was he who advised of Duryodhana. The fight was going on. The Lord is constrained to avoid punishment upon the wrongdoer, but he is not happy to avoid such punishments because the living entities are originally his part and parcels. He is harder than the thunderbolt for the wrongdoer and softer than the rose for the faithful. The wrongdoer is misled by bad associates and by ill advice, which is against the established principles of the Lord's order, and thus he becomes subject to punishment. The surest path to happiness is to live by the principles laid down by the Lord and not disobey his established laws, which are enacted in the Vedas and the Puranas for the forgetful living entities.
So basically, Krishna is Aham Bija Pradapita. All the living entities in all the universes, whether they are rebellious, whether they are asuras, Lord is a father. So like in a family, there is father and mother. There are some children who are very obedient, some children who are very against. So whatever might be the condition, mother and father have affection for the children, whether they are aligning with them or whether they are rebellious of them. Similarly, Lord Krishna, although Duryodhana or Arjuna, Yudhishthir, Pandavas or Duryodhana party, they're all part and parcel of Krishna. So Krishna was unhappy to see their condition because they broke the religious principles of dharma, and therefore they were punished. So what is told is Lord establishes Vedic literature so that the living entities can try to stick to those regular principles and try to follow the path towards Krishna consciousness. That is coming from the path of forgetfulness to remembrance of Krishna. And that is step by step it is done by following the Vedic literature, which enunciates rules and regulations. Yes. So next shloka speaks about Kiyan Bhuvoyam Kshapitoro Bharo Yadrona Bhishmarjuna Bhima Mulai Astadashaka Akshoniko Mad Amsher Aste Balam Durvishaham Yadunam. So this is speaking about Krishna's pastimes out of Mathura, out of Vrindavan, basically Mathura. So many, Rukmini Haran happened. Demons are killed by Krishna, Pradyumna, and Baldev. Then in Kurukshetra battlefield, Pandavas, Kauravas, the Sena on there were killed. At last, Drona, Bhishma, Bhima. But also what is being spoken here is Aste Balam Durvishaham Yadunam. So there are many kings who are like the burden for the earth. But here Sukadeva Goswami is telling, or Vidura is, Uddhava is telling to Vidura, even Yadunam, Durvishaham Yadunam. It appears that the Yadu dynasty was also unbearable for the Mother Earth because of their Balam, Aste Balam. So Krishna is considering that, okay, so many demons have been killed, so many demonic kings like Kamsa has been killed. The whole Mathura, this pastime, the third chapter starts with killing of Kamsa, the demonic kings, basically lessening the burden of the Mother Earth. But here, if you see in this 14th verse, the last line speaks about Aste Balam Vishaham Yaduna. Still there are great strength unbearable of the Yadu dynasty. So what is the unbearable strength of Yadu dynasty? Krishna is thinking. The way it is explained by Sukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj, or the way Vidura is being hearing it from Uddhava. So it's like Prabhupada and even Chakravarti Thakur, Vishnu Chakra Thakur mentions about like a wife or a husband or a lover and beloved. When a lover carries a beloved in her arms, that is burden. Or when a mother carries a baby, it's heavy, but there's affection. Or when a rich man who is earning a lot of money, he carries gold coins. Although it is 10-20 kg, still there is happiness in carrying it. Like a merchant who carries coins, although it is burdensome, but is burden of love. A mother carries baby, it is burden of love. Or a beloved carries the lover, it's burden of love. It's not burden of beast. So demonic kings are compared to your burden of beast. They are sinful. So Mother Earth cannot carry their burden. But Durvishaham Yadunam, what is being mentioned here, unbearable. This unbearable is not because of the burden of Yadu dynasty. This unbearable is that separation from the Yadu dynasty. That is what Jiva Goswami says, which will be a more unbearable burden. Why they are called as burden? This burden one should not misunderstand to be a burden of other demonic kings like other Kshatriyas. But this burden is that all of them were associates of Krishna. Some of them have expansions from the heaven, and therefore Krishna wanted to take them, send them back to heaven for their regular duties. And also some of them were his associates from the spiritual world. So he wanted to take them away from this world. And all of them were almost associates of Krishna, and some of them were expansions. So Mother Earth was feeling separation from these personalities. And that is a burden of love, not the burden of beast. So Prabhupada starts a purport. So the next devotee, who is remaining now? Again, we have to start from Suryakant Prabhu. Yes, you can read. You can start with the first 2 lines. It is a wrong theory. You can start from there.
It is a wrong theory that due to an increase in population, the world becomes overburdened, and therefore there are wars and other emanating processes. The earth is never overburdened. The heaviest mountains and oceans on the face of the earth hold more living entities than there are human beings, and they are not overburdened. If a census were taken of all the living beings on the surface of the earth, certainly it would be found that the number of the humans is not even 5% of the total number of living beings. If the birth rate of human beings is increasing, then the birth rate of other living beings is increasing proportionately. The birth rate of lower animals, beasts, aquatics, birds, etc., is far greater than that of human beings. There is an adequate arrangement for food for all the living beings all over the earth by the order of the Supreme Lord. And he can arrange more and more if there is actually disproportionate increase of living beings. Therefore, there is no question of increase in population causing a burden. The earth became overburdened due to dharma glani, or irregular discharge of the Lord's desire. The Lord appears on the earth to curb the increase in miscreants and not the increase in the population, as wrongly put forward by the mundane economist. When Lord Krishna appeared, there had been sufficient increase in miscreants who had violated the desire of the Lord. The material creation is meant for fulfilling the desire of the Lord, and his desire is that the conditioned souls who are unfit to enter into the kingdom of God have a chance to improve their conditions for entering. The entire process of cosmic arrangement is intended just to give a chance to the conditioned souls to enter the kingdom of God, and there is an adequate arrangement for their maintenance by the nature of the Lord. Therefore, although there may be a great increase in population on the surface of the earth, if the people are exactly in line with God consciousness and are not miscreants, such a burden on the earth is source of pleasure for her.
Okay, Prabhu.
There are two kinds of
Then
burden.
you can stop here.
Okay.
So here in this first 3 paragraphs, Prabhupada is telling that this burden is not because of, many times people have this conception of population explosion. I remember as a student in school, we had an essay to be written in primary school, basically in high school. Population explosion, especially in India and China. And when we start reading Prabhupada book, then we understand there is everything for everybody's need, but not for one man's greed. Basically, it's because of the greed people have developed this conception that people are greedy and they want to hoard, and when there is the masses, they don't get the food, they are starved. But what Prabhupada is trying to write the concept here is Mother Earth is never, because mother never feels that her children are overburdened. But at some point of time, when children become mischievous, when they start beating the father, so mother cannot tolerate. When they start abusing the father, the mother cannot tolerate. That is the junction, or that is the last tolerance limit of the mother. When children, they go against the father. So mother, if she's chaste or she's dharmic, then she cannot tolerate that limit. So similarly, Bhumi is like the mother and Lord Vishnu is like a father, and all living entities, whether sinful, whether pious, they're all the children. So moment they stop aligning with the Ishavasham principle, that everything belongs to property of the Lord, till that moment Mother Earth can tolerate. But once they become rebellious to the Lord, they become burden to the earth. That is called as dharmasya glani. Therefore, there is no question of increasing population causing a burden. The earth becomes overburdened due to dharma glani, a regular discharge of the Lord's desire. That is one thing. And what is a dharma glani? People are exactly in line with God consciousness and are not miscreants. Such a burden on the earth is a source of pleasure for us. So opposite of that, if these citizens, they become Krishna conscious or God conscious, then there is no burden irrespective of the population. Yes, Vraj Gauri Mataji, you can read the second part. There are two kinds of burdens from there till the end of the purport. So why Yaduvamshis are not considered? What is that?
There are two kinds of
referred to as burden here that Prabhupada speaks now. Yes, Mataji, you can read.
There are two kinds of burdens. There is a burden of the beast and the burden of love. The burden of the beast is unbearable, and the burden of love is a source of pleasure. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes the burden of love very practically. He says that the burden of the husband on the young wife, the burden of the child on the lap of the mother, and the burden of the wealth on the businessman. Although actually burdens from the viewpoint of heaviness are sources of pleasure, and in the absence of such burdensome objects, one may feel the burden of separation, which is heavier to bear than the actual burden of love. When Lord Krishna referred to the burden of Yadu dynasty on the earth, he referred to something different than the burden of the beast. The large number of family members born of Lord Krishna counted to some millions and were certainly a great increase in the population of the earth. But because all of them were expansions of the Lord himself by his transcendental plenary expansions, they were a source of great pleasure for the earth. When the Lord referred to them in connection with the burden on the earth, he had in mind their imminent disappearance from the earth. All the members of the family of Lord Krishna were incarnations of different demigods, and they were to disappear from the surface of earth along with the Lord. When he referred to the unbearable heaviness on the earth in connection with the Yadu dynasty, he was referring to the burden of their separation. Jiva Goswami confirms this inference.
So basically, that burden of the Yadu dynasty was not because of the burden of beast. It was a burden of love. It was separation. The pangs of separation the Mother Earth will feel because they're all associates of Lord. They had come to accomplish the task of reducing the burden from the earth and giving pleasure to the. Therefore, if you see, like all of you have done this, 11th, 12th, 13th chapter of first canto, Lord in Dwarka, entering in Dwarka, when Lord was present in Hastinapur, the type of opulence the Mother Earth was exhibiting. So when the husband is there at home, the wife dresses herself gorgeously. She puts all ornaments, and she cooks very nicely. But when the husband is not away, he's far away from the home, she's not well dressed. That is how Vedic tradition is. So similarly, when Lord Krishna is present on the surface of the earth, Mother Earth was blossoming with all the ornaments of Navratnas, pearls, diamond, gold. She was giving all the grains, all the rivers were flowing full, all the trees were blossoming with full flowers, full fruits. And that is opulence of Bhumi when Krishna comes in this material world, perform his pastimes. So that is about the Yadu dynasty. Mito yadesham bhavito vivado mad amadatam amadatamra viloshananam naisham vadopaya iham atonyo maya udatte antardadate swayam shma. Yes, this is continuation of the Yadu dynasty. Such Yadu dynasty people will quarrel now because that is not burden of beast, it is burden of love. But that quarreling of the Yadu dynasty is Lord's will. That is mentioned in the next shloka. Yes, Anand Mohanpur, we can read. We have finished one circle, we'll again start the second circle. I'll just call off any names. Be ready. Yeah.
When they quarrel among themselves, influenced by intoxication, with their eyes red like copper because of drinking madhu, then only they will disappear. Otherwise, it will not be possible. On my disappearance, this incident will take place.
So all these shlokas, if you see carefully, this is thought process of Krishna going on, being explained by Sukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj, which they have heard it from Uddhava narrating to Maitreya, Vidura. So this is all thought process of Krishna going on. So therefore, thinking how, when I'm about to complete my pastimes, to take all my associates also with me. So that is what God is thinking. Basically, this is the will of the Lord. They'll come together in Prabhasha Kshetra. They will drink madhu. They'll get intoxicated, and in the form of curse, they will beat each other. Prabhupada writes many lessons from this. Yes, Prabhupada can read this purport.
The Lord and his associates appear and disappear by the will of the Lord. They are not subjected to the laws of material nature. No one was able to kill the family of the Lord, nor was there any possibility of their natural death by the laws of nature. The only means, therefore, for their disappearance was the make show of a fight amongst themselves, as if brawling in intoxication due to drinking. That so-called fighting would also take place by the will of the Lord. Otherwise, there would be no cause for their fighting. Just as Arjuna was made to be illusioned by family affection, and thus the Bhagavad Gita was spoken, so the Yadu dynasty was made to be intoxicated by the will of the Lord, and nothing more. The devotees and associates of the Lord are completely surrendered souls. Thus, they are transcendental instruments in the hands of the Lord, and can be used in any way the Lord desires. The pure devotees also enjoy such pastimes of the Lord because they want to see him happy. Devotees of the Lord never assert independent individuality. On the contrary, they utilize their individuality in pursuit of the desires of the Lord. And this cooperation of the devotees with the Lord makes a perfect scene of the Lord's pastimes.
They are so powerful, they could not be killed by natural calamities or by nature, nothing. So Lord had to devise some pastime for them to take it back. So one of the story which His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj quotes for this is disappearance of Yadu dynasty is, he gives a small skit of one magician. Like Prabhupada used to quote, there are many magicians. So one such magician was there in one palace, in one kingdom, and the king was about to retire, and the new prince was supposed to be throned as a king within a week's time. As one of the part of the ceremony, the king and queen had called for one magician. The magician, he started showing some tricks. He took a sword and he put it on bag, and then he folded the bag. The sword was not there. Then again put his hand in this bag and removed it. The sword was there. Like that, small tricks started. At some point of time, seeing some of the tricks, the queen became very happy, and she removed her necklace of diamond and gave it to they were husband, wife, a son, and daughter. Daughter did a very nice trick. So therefore, the daughter was given the necklace. And then that son who was there, he became so envious that he went to the daughter and told, "This is my necklace. I also have performed the trick." And they started fighting. In a fight, the son took a knife and cut the head of the daughter. Cut off the head of the daughter. So immediately the daughter's head was cut. Blood was bloody. And seeing that the son has killed the daughter, the father became very furious. And he came there. And he was about to come and slap the son and kill him. But mother came in between. So in the hurry, he cut both the hands, head of both mother and son. Now it was supposed to be a ceremony for throning a princess to be a king. It was just for entertainment. But what happened to be entertainment was, it turned out to be a bloodshed of 3 people. The mother is killed, the son is killed, the daughter is killed. And meanwhile, seeing that the son, wife, and daughter are killed, that magician he himself took a sword and cut his head. And there were 4 heads cut in front of the assembly, royal assembly, in front of the king and queen and the prince. And it was like ghastly bloodshed, blood flowing all throughout the stage. And they thought it to be a big upshakun, inauspiciousness. Immediately the soldiers came, took the dead bodies, threw it outside the kingdom. They brought Gomutra, Gobar, and sanctified it. And all throughout the night, the king and queen were thinking, "Arey, we wanted to create some auspiciousness, some entertainment for our prince would be going to become a king." What has happened is such a heavy bloodshed of all these magicians. Meanwhile, after some 2 weeks' time, a letter came to the king. The letter read like this: "For the small trick my daughter showed to you, you blessed her with a necklace of diamond. For such a huge magic trick which all of us together performed of cutting our heads, what gift you are going to offer us?" Then immediately the next day, the magician, his wife, his daughter, and his son all appeared in the assembly, and they were given lot of pearls, necklaces, and so many things for the trick. That means that incident which happened there of bloodshed was not a real life incident, it was a trick. So Maharaj quotes this pastime for telling that if a magician can flow the blood of all his relatives just to make them understand that it was a disappearance pastime of it was like they are disappearing from this material world, from that royal scene, to create a havoc among the assembly, then surely Krishna, who's such a big magician, is a Yogeshwar. It's not very difficult for him to create some magic in the form of this intoxication, being drunk by all his associates and trying to fight each other, the form of cursing, being cursed by some sages to perform this exit pastimes from this material world. So it's very easily possible for the Lord. If a magician can create such wonderful magic to bewilder the king, queen, and all the citizens, so Lord can easily bewilder the people of this world because he is Yogeshwar. Yes, next shloka. Evam sanchintya bhagavan swarajya sthape dharmajam nandayam ashusuruda sadhunam vartmadarshayan. So next shloka speaks about Lord Krishna establishing Yudhishthira Maharaj as the king. Yes.
I read the purpose translation.
16th shloka.
Yeah.
Translation.
Lord Sri Krishna, thus thinking to himself, established Maharaj Yudhishthir in the position of supreme control of the world in order to show the ideal of administration on the path of piety.
Yes. Lord Krishna, thus thinking of himself, established Maharaj Yudhishthira in the position of supreme control of the world in order to show the ideal administration of the path of piety. So the purpose for his administration was, for purpose of his appearance was, yada yada dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuktam adharmasya tadatmanam sajamya paritranaya sadhunam. So that sajamyam is done. His appeared to kill all the demonic kings is done. Now he'll establish his religious king Yudhishthira Maharaj to do the administration with the path of piety. So therefore he is establishing Yudhishthira Maharaj as the king of the whole earth. Uttarayam dhrutapuror vamshashadva abhimanyuna savai drauniyastra samplushta punar bhagavata dhrutaha. So now, after the Kurukshetra battle, after putting Yudhishthira Maharaj on the throne of the kingship of the whole Bhumi, what happened was, there was one person who was still envious, and he was who? Who was he?
Ashwatthama.
Yes, Sachin, you are right. Ashwatthama. So that Ashwatthama, he brought the Brahmastra to kill all the 5 Pandavas and kill the child in womb of Uttara. So if you read this Sanskrit carefully, two things are repeating here in this shloka. Somebody can tell what are the two words which are repeating again and again? Uttarayam dhrutapuror vamshashadva abhimanyuna savai drauni asya samplushta punar bhagavata dhruta.
Dhruta is cut.
Huh?
Dhruta is repeated.
Yes. What the Dhruta means? Uttarayam dhrutapuror. Puror is Puru Vamsha or Pandavas, because from there were Yati's 5 children, Puru, and there was Yadu. So Yadu did not take the old age of father. Therefore, his descendants cannot become king. But Puru's descendants are Pandavas, and therefore they have become the king of the Bhumandal. So Uttarayam Dhrita Puror Vamsha Sadva Abhimanyuna. So that Dhrita means in the womb of Uttara, Abhimanyu placed the seed of Parishit Maharaj. Dhrita, that is indicating. And Savai Drauni Astra Samplushta, but by the Astra of Drauni, Drona is Dronacharya's son is Ashwattama, Drauni Astra Samplushta, because the Brahmastra thrown by Ashwattama, that Dhrita, the seed placed by Abhimanyu, was burnt. Parishit Maharaj was burnt to ashes. So again, Punar Bhagavat Dhritaha. So because he was not an ordinary living entity, he was going to be Uttam Bhagavat. Krishna personally interfered. Therefore, Punar Bhagavata Dhrita. Krishna again placed him in that body. So what is being spoken here is when husband and wife come together, from the semen of the husband, the wife gets the seed, the soul, whether son or daughter. So that is meaning of Dhrita. Abhimanyu putting it in Uttara. But when Ashwattama, because of his use of the Brahmastra, the body of Abhimanyu or body of Parishit Maharaj was burnt. So again Krishna Punar Bhagavata Dhrita. Again he invoked that soul back into Parishit Maharaj's body through his expansion as Paramatma. This is the meaning of two Dhrita being taken there. That means it was second birth for Parishit Maharaj, which Krishna himself is interfering and trying to bring him back to the womb. Yes. Next devotee, Anushmu.
The embryo of Puru's descendant, begotten by the great hero Abhimanyu in the womb of Uttara, his wife, was burnt by the weapon of the son of Drona. But later he was again protected by the Lord.
Yes. So first Dhrita was, he was placed. Second Dhrita was, he was protected by the Lord. Revived back from the death. Yes, we can read the first 3 lines.
The embryonic body of Parikshit, which was in formation after Uttara's pregnancy by Abhimanyu, the great hero, was burnt by the Brahmastra of Ashwathama. But a second body was given by the Lord within the womb, and thus the descendant of Puru was saved.
Yes. What Prabhupada tries to bring the lesson from this is, that means body was burnt. That body was there only. But again, what Krishna had to bring back into the body? What is that Krishna brought back? The soul. So Prabhupada brings concept of soul here. Yes, read the continuation of the purport.
This incident is the direct proof that the body and living entity, the spiritual spark, are different. When the living entity takes shelter in the womb of a woman through the injection of the semen of a man, there is an emulsification of the men's and women's discharges, and thus a body is formed the size of a pea, gradually developing into a complete body. But if the developing embryo is destroyed in some way or other, the living entity has to take shelter in another body or in womb of another woman. The particular living entity who was selected to be the descendant of Maharaj Puru or the Pandavas was not an ordinary living entity, and by the superior will of the Lord, he was destined to be the successor to Maharaj Yudhishthir. Therefore, when Ashwathama destroyed the embryo of Maharaj Parikshit, the Lord, by his own internal potency, entered into the womb of Uttara by his plenary portion just to give audience to the would-be Maharaj Parikshit, who was in great danger. By his appearance within the womb, the Lord encouraged the child and gave him complete protection in a new body by his omnipotency. By his power of omnipresence, he was present both inside and outside of Uttara and other members of the Pandava family.
So in this purport, Prabhupada is mentioning the last two lines about omnipotency and omnipresence. So Lord is omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. Omnipotent, he is a task of Mahavishnu. Through Mahavishnu, he can, from his pores, from his sweat, he can create millions of universes. And in that he can put Kala, Karma, Swabhava, we saw in the 6th chapter of the 2nd canto. From that he can produce Pradhan. From that Pradhan he can create Mahatattva, Sutra Tattva, Ahankar. From that he can produce Panchama, Bhut and Tanmatras. From that he can produce intelligence and senses, Gyanendriya, Karmendriya. From that he can produce in Sattvaguna, demigods and mind. So all together they can assemble and create 84 lakh species. So this is the omnipotency of the Lord, which is referring to Mahavishnu. The omniscience, omnipresence is by Garbhadaksha Vishnu. He goes into each and every living entity and is omnipresent in each and every universe. He is like the soul of each and every universe. And then omniscient is Shivadaksha Vishnu. He knows each and every living entity, what he is doing at what time. This Prabhupada mentions in Antaryami in Ishopanishad, that living entity may forget what he has done in past lives, but Lord in the form as Antaryami knows the karma fall of the living entity and accordingly awards it. So here, by his potency of omnipotency, because Lord creates a material world of nowhere, he's just breathing, and from that breath universes come. By breathing of the Lord, universes are emanating, and from that universes 84 lakh species are being created. So it's not very difficult for Lord Krishna to enter in the womb of Uttara and revive Parikshit Maharaj back to life. Therefore, out of his omnipotency, he gave complete protection to the new body of the Parikshit Maharaj. And he was present at the same time. Antar Bahir Avasitam. Kunti Maharani is praying Antar Bahir Avasitam. He was present next to Kunti Maharani Uttara outside, and he himself expanded as Paramatma and went inside the womb of Uttara to protect Parikshit Maharaj with his club. So therefore, because Parikshit Maharaj was a pure devotee, he didn't wanted that lineage to be broken, and therefore he revived him back to life. That is the Prabhupada is trying to write here. So next shloka is Ayachaya Dharma Sutam Ashvamedas Tribir Vibhu Sho Apikshamam Anujai Rakshan Reme Krishnam Anuvrataha. Yes, Ram Krishna, your question.
Yes, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, I just wanted to understand that, like, is this coming from like what commentary that actually Parikshit Maharaj had body had died when and then Krishna revived him, because we also see that Parikshit Maharaj saw Lord Krishna with his glove and actually protecting him. So, like, from where we understand that
Here
he was
only,
actually
here only in this shloka it is mentioned, na? The embryo of Kuru descendant begotten by the great hero Abhimanyu in the womb of Uttara, his wife was burnt by the weapon of the son of Drona. Basically, the embryo was completely burnt. And then later he was again protected by the Lord. So again, Lord revived him back to the life. When Lord revived him back to the life, at that moment, Parikshit Maharaj could see him carrying the club, fighting with the Lord.
So, Prabhuji, was there any significance, like he could have not let Parikshit die? So, like, is there any significance of this that he revived him? Or...
Your question is, what is the significance of Parikshit Maharaj being burnt in the womb?
Yeah.
Actually, Krishna was, it comes in 11th chapter, 11th and 10th chapter. Krishna is departing from Hastinapur. So Krishna is coming and Kunti Maharani is coming and bidding farewell. And immediately Ashwatthama releases the weapon. The whole Bhagavatam starts with that. 5th chapter, 6th chapter, 1.6.6. Drauni Astra. And Krishna and Arjuna are chasing him. So what is significance is, Krishna is standing and suddenly the Brahmastra is being released. So Krishna, generally what he does is he has given the task of maintaining the material world through Shirodaksha Vishnu or through material nature. But because Pandavas and all these associates of Pandavas are pure devotees, Krishna is personally interfering there. And therefore, Brahmastra is in such a way that Pandavas also could come back the Brahmastra, especially Arjuna. But at one place, Prabhupada says, or Acharyas say, that Ashwatthama released 5 Brahmastras for all the 5 Pandavas and 6 Brahmastras for Parikshit Maharaj. Basically, they wanted to remove everything. It is told in such a way. And if that was the case, Arjuna could have combated his own Brahmastra. Because Arjuna had fought with Duryodhana, Arjuna had fought with Dronacharya, with Kripacharya, with Karna. You have seen in that Virat Parva, Arjuna personally defeated all the warriors. So, Lord Uttara might be thinking that, Arjuna will come and protect the womb in the child. But Uttara and Kunti, Uttara came running to the Lord because she could feel that sense, because she is having a womb and there is some fierce weapon going inside her womb. The Brahmastra is such a thing that it's not like nuclear weapon where America is putting on Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the whole civilization is burnt. Brahmastra is such a weapon that only it can go to the target. If somebody like all of you sitting in the class, for example, or you have come to one place in temple hall for doing some arti, and somebody releases Brahmastra for one particular example, that one particular devotee only will be touched the Brahmastra. Rest everybody will be like, they think, what is happening? But in this case, Uttara was there, and because Parikshit is in her womb, and it's almost like a mother is aware of what happens inside the womb. She could sense that there is something wrong happening. Hare Krishna. Something wrong happening, and therefore she could sense, and she approached Krishna. And therefore Krishna immediately appeared inside the womb with the Gada, and he was rotating around Parikshit Maharaj and trying to combat the Brahmastra. So that is the significance.
So he revived also and protected also. Thank you.
Next shloka, translation. You can read, Prabhu, Ramakrishna Prabhu, translation.
Yes, Prabhu.
Supreme Lord induced.
Yeah. The Supreme Lord induced the son of Dharma to perform 3 horse sacrifices, and Maharaj Yudhishthir, constantly following Krishna, the personality of Godhead, protected and enjoyed the earth, assisted by his younger brothers.
Yes. After putting him on throne, Maharaj Yudhishthir did Rajasuyagya and then Ashwamedhagya. So it is mentioned about that. So Prabhupada quotes from Ishopanishad, where Lord is Isha Vashyam, Lord is Ishvara. So you can read that part. As stated in the Vedas, 2nd line.
As stated in the Vedas, Upanishad, Ishopanishad, the Lord is the proprietor of the entire manifested cosmic creation, which presents a chance for the conditioned souls to revive their eternal relationship with the Lord and thus go back to Godhead, back home. The whole system of the material world is arranged with that program and plan. Anyone who violates the plan is punished by the laws of nature, which is acting by the direction of the Supreme Lord. Maharaj Yudhishthir was installed on the throne of the earth as a representative of the Lord. The king is always expected to be the representative of the Lord. Perfect monarchy necessitates representation of the supreme will of the Lord. And Maharaj Yudhishthira was the ideal monarch on this supreme principle. Both the king and the subjects were happily in the discharge of worldly duties, and thus protection of the citizens and enjoyment of natural life with full cooperation of material nature followed in the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthir and his worthy descendants like Maharaj Parikshit.
Yes. So this is a perfect alignment of Varnashrama happening here. Many times devotees have this question, we are chanting Hare, we are coming to Krishna consciousness, we are practicing bhakti, we should get spiritual benefit as well as material benefit also. One thing with Harinam Sankirtan inaugurated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, surely there is a lot of spiritual benefit. But for material benefit also should come, the king also should become a devotee, like Yudhishthira Maharaj here. So Prabhupada writes here at the last 3 lines, both the king and subjects were happy in the discharge of worldly duties. That means even materially also they were comfortable, they were opulent, they were secure, and the citizens were protected, and the enjoyment of natural life. Material opulence was there, at the same time spiritual practice both were there. So at the present age, because the kings are not devotees, because of that, there is Adhyatmika, Adidaivika, Adibhautika Klesh. So what can be done? Prabhupada tells in 17th chapter of the first canto, which we discussed around 4 or 5 months back. So if the king is not a devotee, then what can we do? Citizens should practice bhakti and try to equip themselves, try to become devotees, and do such vigorous preaching that all the people of the whole world become devotees, and surely such devotees will elect a devotee king. So for us to expect a material benefit, a king also has to be devotee. If that happens, then material benefit as well as spiritual benefit both will be possible. But in that absence of that, what at least you should try to do, at least you should try to only expect spiritual benefit, and whatever comes materially, best use of bad bargain. That is what we should do. But why Maharaj Yudhishthira is being installed as a king? So that people in general will be given all material facilities for their food, clothing, shelter, their comfortable material life, as well as practice of spiritual life will be given to them. So that is the benefit of having a devotee king. It comes from top to down. But in the absence of that, at least from down, or at least we can try to preach and try to become devotees and try to make as many people as Krishna conscious that they will elect a devotee king. So next shloka. So now Yudhishthira Maharaj is installed as the Chakravarti Samrat of the Bhumandala, of this earth planet, and Krishna is subordinate king to Yudhishthira Maharaj. That is what next shloka speaks about. Bhagavan api Vishwatma Lokaveda Patanugaha Kamam Shisheva Dvarayatyam Varvatyam Asakta Sankyam Astitaha. So Krishna was a subordinate king to Yudhishthira Maharaj, and this shloka speaks about, the 4th line speaks about the 2 things, Asaktaha, Sankhya. So Krishna has his 6 opulences: Aishwarya, Viryasya, Yashasha, Shriya, Dhyana, Vairagaschaiva. 6 opulences Krishna has. He has wealth, he has beauty, he has strength, he has fame, he has knowledge, he has renunciation. So Chakravarti Pad, Vishnu Chakravarti writes is Asakta here refers to without being attached. It refers to renunciation. The opulence of the Lord has renunciation. And Sankyam here refers to the knowledge. So therefore this shloka, the last 2 lines, Asakta and Sankyam. Asakta refers to the opulence of the Lord as of renunciation, and Sankyam refers to the opulence of the Lord as knowledge. Yes, the next devotee can read. Madan Mohan can read.
Hare Krishna. Simultaneously, the personality of Godhead enjoyed life in the city of Dwarka, strictly in conformity with the Vedic customs of the society. He was situated in detachment and knowledge, as enunciated by the Sankhya system of philosophy. Purport. Will you read fully? Hare Krishna, shall I read? Purport?
Prabhuji, you were muted. We could not hear.
Okay. You can read here. This, without such knowledge and detachment.
Yes. Without such knowledge, detachment, and custom, the so-called human civilization is no more than an animal society of eat, drink, be merry, and enjoy. The Lord was acting freely as he willed. Yet, by his practical example, he taught not to lead a life which goes against the principles of detachment and knowledge. Attainment of knowledge and detachment, as very elaborately discussed in the Sankhya philosophy, is the real perfection of life. Knowledge means to know that the mission of the one form of life is to end all the miseries of material existence, and that in spite of having to fulfill the bodily necessities in a regulated way, one must be detached from such animal life. Fulfilling the demands of the body is animal life, and fulfilling the mission of the spirit soul is the human mission.
This is expected of a human being. So, but Lord, when he appeared in Dwarka, what he did, that is mentioned in the first half purport. You can read the first part of the purport now, while Maharaj Yudhishthira was the emperor.
While Maharaja Yudhishthira was the emperor of earth, Lord Sri Krishna was the king of Dwarka and was known as Dwarkadish. Like other subordinate kings, he was under the guidance of Maharaja Yudhishthira. Although Lord Sri Krishna is the supreme emperor of the entire creation, while he was on this earth, he never violated the principles of the Vedic injunctions because they are the guide for human life. Regulated human life according to the Vedic principles, which are based on the system of knowledge called Sankhya philosophy, is the real way of enjoyment of the necessity of life.
Also, Lord of Supreme Person of Godhead, he acted as subordinate king to Yudhishthira Maharaj, and he acted with his two opulences, knowledge and renunciation, so as an example for all of us that fulfilling the demands of the body is animal life, fulfilling the mission of the spirit soul is human life. So therefore, Vedic Vedas prescribe regulation. We have to eat, we have to sleep, we have to reproduce, and we have to defend. But that has to be done under the regulation of Vedic literature. That by that our consciousness will be evolved. That is what the lesson Lord wanted to teach all of us. People in general. Next shloka. Snigdha smitavalokena vacha piyusha kalpaya charitrenana vadena sriniketana chatmana. So 19th shloka spoke about Lord was detached, asakta, sankhya, he was in knowledge. But this shloka is speaking that although Lord was detached, he was in knowledge. The way he is dealing with his Dwarka twins, Snigdha smitavalokena vacha piyusha kalpaya charitrenana vadyena sriniketana chatmanam. So how can it that Lord who is detached and full of knowledge enjoy his wives on the material level? He cannot enjoy them on the material level. His enjoyment with the queens of the Dwarka is on spiritual level, Chit Shakti. It is not based on Maya Shakti. It is in Chit Shakti. So that is what this shloka speaks about. Yes, Parmeshwar Mataji, you can read the translation.
Yes, Prabhu. He was there in his transcendental body, the residence of the goddess of fortune, with his usual gentle and sweetly smiling face, his nectarian words are and his flawless character. Purport. In the previous verse, it is described that Lord Krishna, being situated in the truth of Sankhya philosophy, he detached from all kinds of matter. In the present verse, it is described that he is the residence of the goddess of fortune. These two things are not at all contradictory. Lord Krishna is detached from the variegatedness of the inferior nature, but he is in the eternal blissful and enjoyment of the spiritual nature or his internal potency. One who has a poor fund of knowledge cannot understand this distinction between the external and the internal potencies. In the Bhagavad Gita, the internal potency is described as a Paraprakriti. In the Vishnu Purana, also, the internal potency of Vishnu is described as Parashakti. The Lord is never detached from the association of Parashakti. This Parashakti and her manifestation are described in Brahma Samhita 5.37 as Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabhi. The Lord is eternally joyful and cognizant in the taste derived from such transcendental bliss. Negation of the variegatedness of the inferior energy does not necessitate negation of the positive transcendental bliss of spiritual world. Therefore, the Lord's gentleness, his smile, his character, and everything related to him are the transcendental, are all transcendental. Such manifestation of the internal potency are the reality of which the material shadow is only a temporary representation from which everyone with proper knowledge must be detached.
So devotees can easily understand this transcendental nature of the Lord, but non-devotees cannot understand it, because for non-devotees they think the Lord to be material. Avajananti mam moda manushim tanum ashritaha. Therefore, in next 2-3 shlokas, Prabhupada writes it: Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tatvatah tektva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so arjunaha. Only devotees can understand this, but non-devotees cannot understand this, and therefore impersonalists, mayavadis, jnanis, yogis, they have tough time accessing bhakti. Bhakti is so simple, but because they don't understand the real form of the Lord, and therefore they cannot understand how a person can be speaking Bhagavad Gita, speaking renunciation, the same time he is enjoying with all his wives in Dwarka. They can't understand this is contradiction for him. Even in next chapter also we'll see that the contradictions Lord is exhibiting is being spoken here. But we can understand this contradiction. Why? Because Lord is having 3 features. He is Brahman, he is Paramatma, and Bhagavan. As Brahman and Paramatma, he is above the 3 modes. But as Bhagavan, for the pleasure of his devotees, he descends on the world and becomes the son of Yashoda, Devaki. He becomes the lover of the gopis, and he becomes the friend of Arjuna and speaks Bhagavad Gita to them. Yes. So next sloka we'll see now. Imam lokam amum chaiva ramayan sutaram yadun reme kshana daya datta kshanastri kshana saurdaha. Yes. Shobhalakshmi Mata, you can read.
Translation. The Lord enjoyed his pastimes both in this world and in other worlds, higher planets, specifically in the association of the Yadu dynasty. At leisure hours offered by night, he enjoyed the friendship of conjugal love with women.
Yes. So in this purport, Chakravarti Pad, what he comments is 3 things are here. Imam lokam amum chaiva. Lord enjoyed his pastime with the people of this devotees, pure devotees in this world. That is first level. Second is Ramayam Sutaram Yadun. Imam, matlab of this earthly planet, pure devotees. Amum, the other world, the heavenly planets. Lord even gave the enjoyment to them also. And then Ramayam Sutaram Yadun. And the third category is its increasing order. Devotees of this earthly planet, devotees of the higher planetary systems. The third is Yadu dynasty. They got close proximity of Krishna as Dwarkadish. But among them, Yadus also, the 16,108 wives of Krishna, they got his most close association. So therefore, there are 4 hierarchies Prabhupada mentions in this purport. Mata, you can read the purport.
Purpose. The Lord enjoyed in this world with his pure devotees. Although he is the personality of Godhead and is transcendental to all material attachment, he nevertheless exhibited much attachment for his pure devotees on the earth, as well as for the demigods who engage in his service in the heavenly planets as powerful delegated directors in the management of all material activities. He displayed special attachment for his family members, the Yadus, as well as for his 16,000 wives, who had the opportunity to meet him in the leisure hours of night. All these attachments of the Lord are manifestations of his internal potency, of which the external potency is only a shadow representation. In the Skanda Puran, Prabhasa Khanda, in the topics between the Lord Shiva and Gauri, the manifestation of his internal potencies is confirmed. There is mention of the Lord's meeting with 16,000 cowherd damsels, although he is the Hamsa transcendental super soul and maintainer of all living entities. The 16,000 cowherd damsels are a display of 16 varieties of internal potencies. This will be more elaborately explained in the 10th canto. It is said there that Lord Krishna is just like the moon, and the damsels, parts of his internal potencies, are like the stars around the moon.
Yes, the shloka it is mentioned by Chakravarti Pad, same Skanda Puran Prabhas Kanda. Prabhupada is taking from the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur commentary. The shloka is हंस एव मत कृष्ण परमात्मा जनार्दन तस्सैतः शक्तयो देवी सोदशैव प्रकृति तथा चंद्ररूपी मतः कृष्ण कालरूपस्तुता स्मृत. Krishna is known as Hamsa, Paramatma, and Janardan. O Parvati, these 16 Shaktis are well known. He is like the moon, and the Shaktis are like the phases of the moon. And this will be described in detail in the 10th canto. So Prabhupada is exactly taking this last second part of the purport from Chakravarti Thakur. Basically, is dealing with 4 levels of dealing with the pure devotees of this earth, demigods who are serving him, Yadu Vamsha, and in Yadu Vamsha also is 16,100 gopi wives for his energies. Okay. तस्येवं रममानस्य समवत्सरा गणान् बहुन् ग्रहमेदेषु योगेषु विराग समजायतः. Yes, Sahuja Mataji, Yashika Mataji, you can read.
The Lord was thus engaged in household life for many, many years. But at last, his detachment from ephemeral sex life was fully manifested. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Even though the Lord is never attached to any kind of material sex life, as a universal teacher, he remained a householder for many, many years, just to teach others how one should live in householder life. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the word Samajayata means fully exhibited. In all his activities while present on earth, the Lord exhibited detachment. This was fully displayed when he wanted to teach by example that one should not remain attached to household life for all the days of one's life. One should naturally develop detachment as a matter of course. The Lord's detachment from household life does not indicate detachment from his eternal associates, the transcendental cowherd themselves. But the Lord desired to end his so-called attachment to the 3 modes of material nature. He can never be detached from the service of his transcendental associates like Rukmani and the other goddess of fortune. As described in the Brahm Samhita 5.29, Lakshmi Sahasrasata Sambharma Sevyamanam.
So when the shloka speaks about Grahamedishu Yogeshu Viraga Samjayatah, it refers to he's completing the pastimes in the Dwarka and then going to the next abode. But he's not getting detached from his associates. He will continue the pastimes ahead in some other universe. Daivadineshu Kameshu Daivadina Swayam Puman O Vishrambeta Yogena Yogeshwaram Anuvratah. So next shloka speaks about if Lord had to put full stop and become detached, performing his pastime in Yoga Maya, how much a person, a mortal being, should be detached from his associates and family people? So that is a question Chakravarti Pada asks. So every living entity is controlled by supernatural force, and thus his sense of enjoyment is also under the control of that supernatural force. No one therefore can put his faith in Lord Krishna's transcendental sense activities, but one who has become a devotee of Lord by rendering devotional service. This is the translation. Daivadineshu Kameshu. The people of this world, they are dependent on the demigods for their pleasure. Daivadina Swayam Puman. But in case of Krishna, he is Swarat. He is himself is not dependent on any demigod. But despite his being Swarat, he is showing by his example detachment principle. How much people of this world should follow that principle of detachment? That is the question. And answer is only those who are devotees can appreciate the Lord. So that is Yogeshwaram Anuvratah. Ko Vishrambeta Yogena. Who can understand this kind of detachment of the Lord? Nobody can understand. Only a devotee can understand this detachment of the Lord. To be factual, this detachment is not material. This detachment is detachment from 3 modes. Yes. So Prabhupada writes Janma Karma Chame Divyam in the purport. Yes, Suryakant Prabhu can read the purport.
As stated in Bhagavad Gita, no one can understand the transcendental birth and activities of the Lord. The same fact is then corroborated. No one but one who is enlightened by the devotional service of the Lord can understand the difference between the Lord's activities and those of others who are controlled by the supernatural force. The sense enjoyment of all animals, men, and demigods within the purview of the material universe is controlled by the supernatural force called Prakriti or Devi Maya. No one is independent in obtaining sense enjoyment, and everyone in this material world is after sense enjoyment. Persons who are themselves under the control of the supernatural power cannot believe that Lord Krishna is not under any control beyond himself in the matter of sense enjoyment. They cannot understand that his senses are transcendental. In the Brahma Samhita, the Lord's senses are described as omnipotent. That is, with any sense, he can perform the activities of other senses. One who has limited senses cannot believe that Lord can eat by his transcendental power of hearing and can perform the act of sex simply by seeing. The controlled living entity cannot even dream of such sense activities in his conditional life. So simply by the activities of Bhakti Yoga, he can understand the Lord and his activities are always transcendental. And the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 18.55, Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavanyashchakmi tattva. One cannot know even a fraction of the activities of the Lord if he is not a pure devotee of the Lord.
So basically, Shloka speaks Lord is detached. So the detachment one has to develop is not from spiritual life, as many of the impersonalists, many of the yogis, Gyanis say, the detachment is from attachment to matter, but one has to be attached to Krishna. So only by bhakti one can understand Krishna. Puryam kadachit kridabhi yadu bhoja kumarakai opita munaya sepur bhagavan mata kovidah. So now again, Uddhava is trying to take a detour. Now he spoke about the Yadu Vamsha. He spoke about the Yadu Vamsha becoming the burden of love. Then he spoke of Yudhishthira Maharaj. Krishna is subordinate of Yudhishthira Maharaj. Krishna is detached. He's in knowledge. Again, he's exhibiting his qualities with all his 16,100 wives. And again, who can understand that? Only a person who is in devotional service can understand that. Then again, he's coming back to the Yadu Vamsha. The Yadu Vamsha Puryam Kadachit Kridabir, in the playful act in past. Yadu Bhoja Kumarakai. So this Yayati's lineage, there are two Vrishnis and Bhojas. The Bhoja became the king. The Vrishnis, they were subordinate to that. Kopita Munaya Sepur, they made some sages angry. Bhagavan Mata Kovidaha. But that sages became angry by the Samba and some of the children of Krishna, and they cursed. That was Bhagavan Mata Kovidaha. It was a will of Lord Krishna. It was not that Yadu Vamshas will commit some offense. Yadu Vamshas are Chit Shakti. They can't be subjected to any of the curses of any of the sages. But what Lord wanted to teach? Lord wanted to teach that we should never take Vaishnavas cheaply and offend them. We should not be playful with them. So Lord wanted to teach this lesson. Therefore, he personally wanted the most powerful personalities on this material world, his own associates, his own children, even if they offend Vaishnavas, what will be their destination? Lord wanted to teach from this pastime, and that this shloka is mentioning that gravity of that. But Krishna himself orchestrated his associates to do in such a way to teach the lesson to the whole world that one should be very careful with Vaishnava Aparadh. Yes. Who has not yet read? Sachi Sundari Mataji, you can read.
Yes, Translation. Once upon a time, great sages were made angry by sporting activities of the princely descendants of the Yadu and Bhoja dynasties, and thus desired by the Lord, the sages cursed them. Purport. The associates of the Lord who were playing the part of princely descendants of the Yadu and Bhoja dynasties were not ordinary living entities. It is not possible that they could offend any saintly man or sage, nor could the sages, who were all pure devotees of the Lord, be influenced to anger by any of the sporting activities of the princes born in the holy dynasties of Yadu or Bhoja, wherein the Lord himself appeared as a descendant. The cursing of the princes by the sages was another transcendental pastime of the Lord to make a show of anger. The princes were cursed in order that one may know that even the descendants of the Lord, who could never be vanquished by any act of material nature, were subjected to the reactions of anger by great devotees of the Lord. One should therefore take great care and attention not to commit an offense at the feet of a devotee of the Lord.
Okay. So this is what Prabhupada gives a lesson from this, that even out of playful act they did some pastime, because of which Narada and some other sages became angry and they cursed them. But it was orchestrated by the Lord to show to the world that even his descendants, his associates, do that act of offending Vaishnavas, even they will be vanquished. So this is a very, very important principles we have to learn in our life, which Prabhupada is writing here. Okay. So covered 24 shlokas, 4 more shlokas are there. We will try to begin the next week, next Saturday, with the 25th shloka. Any questions you would have? Any questions we'll discuss, otherwise we'll try to conclude now. So third chapter speaks about Krishna's pastime in Mathura and in Dwarka until the time of his disappearance of the Yadu dynasty. This chapter ends with that. In the next chapter, Uddhava is recollecting, remembering that Krishna disappeared now. So Uddhava goes into the separation mood, pangs of separation, and is narrating that to Vidura. And he tells Vidura, nearby Maitreya is performing his tapasya in Vraj, Yamuna. So better you approach him. I have to go to Badrikashram to narrate this Brahma Samsthitim, Chatushloki Bhagavatam to Badrikashram to Badrinath. So he thought it to be Maryada Vatikram, because Uddhava and Maitreya both heard this Brahma Samsthitim from Krishna. In the first chapter and second chapter you heard about it. So Krishna ordered Uddhava to pass this message to Badrikashram, Badrinath. And therefore he wanted to go for that service. At the same time, Uddhava was in age-wise junior to Maitreya Rishi. So he didn't want to do Maryada Vatikrama by speaking the Bhagavatam to Vidura, because Vidura was age-wise elder, one generation elder to Uddhava. And therefore, in order to not do Maryada Vatikrama, he asked him that you can hear this Bhagavatam from Maitreya Rishi. So that is in the next chapter. So we'll cover this remaining 4 shlokas, disappearance of Krishna, and then go to the next chapter next Saturday. I think tomorrow all of you have exam, right?
Yes.
Yes. So your exam is already postponed by 1 week. Okay. So we'll conclude now. So before we end, I'd like to congratulate all devotees who got Brahman Diksha last week in Vada. So hearty congratulations for all of you. So as Brahmanas, Bhakti Shastri is eligibility, but Brahman is not only Bhojana Priya, but Brahman is also supposed to do Shastra Adhyayan and Tapasya and all the activities. So all of you are doing Bhakti Vaibhav. So this is one of the way the Brahmanas can execute their life in devotional service. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So next Saturday we'll meet again. We'll conclude.